Hi, I'm Sherry Buckner with Grace Monroe Home and Design with the Pros, and today I'm going to teach you how to make a simple rag bow. So let me show you what we're going to use. First, I have 1 yard of material that I'm going to use, and I have folded this in half. I've also got some lace that I'm going to be using. I've got a rotary cutter, but you can certainly use scissors just as well. I've got 26 gauge wire that I will be using, a beautiful button, and you can choose any kind of button that you want to. I've got a bodabra to basically hold my material. You do not have to have this to make the bow, but it does make it a little easier. And I've got my glue gun, so that I'll be able to put my button on my bow. And you may be asking, what exactly is a rag bow? A rag bow is just a bow that is made out of material. And it's like this one here. You can use any kind of material. You can add lace. You can do just about anything with them. And we're going to be cutting, I've already cut some of my strips out of my material. I want my strips to be around 36 inches long, so that is why you double your yard of material. And I've also cut my lace 36 inches long. And I'm going to go ahead and cut some of my strips here. And now the strips do not have to be perfect. You don't have any particular size that they have to be. I'm doing these around 1 inch wide, but you actually can do some. I do have some that are 2 inches wide, and I've got some that are less than 1 inch wide. You do not have to be very precise with this at all. So don't worry about measuring them out and them being perfect. The rag bow is going to be beautiful when it's finished. And I love this because you can use any kind of material. You can use old pillowcases, cut those up to use them. And we are almost finished with our strips. And as you can see, I'm not cutting them exactly perfect, and that is all right. Okay. Let's make sure this one gets cut in two. Okay. And I've got about 10 of my strips here already, and these are going to be my loops for my bow. And I've also included 1 strip of my lace. So I'm going to take my bodabra, and I'm going to cut a piece of wire that is about 26 inches long. And I'm not measuring this, but it'll be about that long. You just want to make sure it's plenty long to hold all of your material. And then I'm just going to take my wire and I'm going to double it. Just like that, so that I have 2 ends here and a loop on this side. And I'm going to put it through my bodabra. And then I'm just going to tuck the ends under. I've gathered up all of my ribbons for my streamers. I've left 10 pieces of my ribbon here and 1 piece of my lace. And the other 2 pieces of my lace I have here. And these are going to be the streamers. So I put them in my bodabra. I make sure I'm right in the center. But now they do not have to be, you don't want them all exactly even. So don't worry about that. I'm going to put them right down into my bodabra, And as I do, I twist it so that they're laying flat here against the Bodabra. And just make sure they're put in there really, really well, all the way down to the bottom. Now I'm going to start making my loops for my bow. You want your loops to be about 6.5 to 7 inches in once it's looped over. I'm going to take and put about a half an inch to an inch of material on this side of my Bodabra, and I'm going to make my loop. And like I said, you want them to be long enough so that they hang down. You don't want them short, because then they're just going to look like a regular bow. You want them to be long enough so that they do hang down. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Just like that, and make sure that my loops are even. Now I've got a little excess material here, so I'm just going to take my scissors and cut off and leave, again, about an inch on this side. And I am starting with my wider pieces that I have cut. So now I'm going to do the same thing. Just going to make sure they hang down. Just like that. And I'm just going to keep making loops. Okay, and once I get my loops made, if my material is too long, I'm just cutting it off. Now you could wait and cut off the excess material at the end, but it's just easier to me to go ahead and do it each strip. And with the first 4 or 5 of your strips, you want those to be about the same length. But after you get those, the next ones are going to be about 5.5 inches. You want those to be just a little shorter. So from here on out, they're going to be about 5.5 inches. So your first ones, you're going to have 6.5 to 7 inches, and the next ones you're going to have about an inch or so shorter. I'm just going to cut off the material. I'm still making my loops. And these are, like I said, about 5.5 to 6 inches. And I'm just cutting the extra material off. And these, you can see that I have this one on a wreath that is behind me, but these bows would be beautiful in a farmhouse, on your curtains, you know, tying back your curtains or anything. You can use them in so many places. I'm going to go ahead now and use my lace that I have, and I'm doing it exactly the same way. And that's something you could use lace if you've got just old material, old tablecloths that have lace on them. You can cut the lace off of those. There's so many things you can do with these. Okay, so that's my last loop. So now I'm just going to mash it down very, very hard, and I'm going to take my wire out from underneath, and I'm going to pull up on my wire very carefully, but I'm keeping my thumb right here in the middle so that nothing comes out. And then I'm going to take the two ends and put them through the loop and pull really tightly, just like that, all while it's still in my Bodabra. Now I'm just going to move my Bodabra out of the way, and I'm going to put this down on my table and mash it very hard. And while I'm mashing it, I'm just pulling my wire back and forth to get it tight. Then I'm going to separate my two wires, and I'm going to come up underneath just like that, and then bend everything forward, and I'm going to tighten it very tightly and just twist. Just like this, and twist the bow. And I'm just using my fingers to twist my bow, just like that. Okay, so here's where you are. Just like this. And now we're going to put our button in the middle, and that's going to be the middle of our bow. So make sure to separate it so that you've got your middle here. And I'm just going to lay it here on my table, and I'm going to take my pretty button, and see, it's going to go right here in the center. So I just take my button, and I'm just going to use my glue gun, and I'm just going to put glue all over the back side of that button. And then I'm just going to push it right down onto my material, right in the middle, and just hold it so that it gets good and secure right there. And if you wanted to, you can add even more material to make it even fuller. You can add a lot more streamers. This, you can do all kinds of things. You can use, you know, any kind of floral materials or anything like that to make it your own. So make sure to play around and experiment. But there is the rag bow. And I'm holding my wire here, so make sure never to let go of that wire until you get it secure where you want it. And also, now, the thing about a rag bow, you want it to look kind of vintage, so to kind of rag it up, as they say, all you have to do is just kind of use your hands and just keep doing this, and you kind of get it to look like you want it to. Very vintage. And the more you play with it, the more vintage it's going to look. And I'm just going to show you holding it up here, up against this. That's how it would look. And just think how pretty that would be hanging on your curtains or something like that. It would be so, so pretty. So I hope you enjoyed making your rag bow, and make sure, if you like this, to like this video and also to subscribe to our channel. We love making different crafts and wreaths and things like that, and we'd love for you to watch us. Thanks for joining us today.